This Cancer Capricorn evolution that's taking place with Pluto is all about safety and the need for safety and the willingness to surrender that safety for, surrender our freedom to acquire that safety. And this is at odds with, it is squaring off with our need for freedom and harmony. And so that's the evolutionary expression that's going on right now. And let me just actually, one more thing before we go, I'm just going to pull that up. I think I have the chart of the US up right now too. We can just go back to that. Where is Luna? So we can see here, and I think I can draw on that. I don't have my brush tool available, but I would love to be able to draw on it. Let's see if I can, here we go. So I think green brush is not working. Let me just double check that really quick. No, you're not seeing it. Anyways, you can see, hopefully you can see that we have this in the US chart. We have Cancer in the 8th house, Pluto and the south node of Pluto in Capricorn in the 2nd house. And then we have Saturn in Libra, and the Libra Aries axis, which is that individual freedom and expression of self to obtain harmony, is completely orthogonal to the Cancer Capricorn axis. And we have Saturn in the sign of balance and harmony. Saturn is the great teacher, the restrictor, the bringer of things through time. And we could, if we were just kind of like think somewhat prophetically about that, we could say that it's going to require a lot of time for the world, for the US, the world that the US is influencing. It's going to take a long time for harmony to be truly established through Saturnian expression. That's one way we could think about it. All right. I think that is all that I had to talk about today. Hopefully you found that somewhat interesting. Maybe even a little bit amusing. It was kind of some dry humor there at the beginning, but there's a lot going on in the world, and we need to keep our eye on the ball. We need to keep our eye on what's happening. And what's important in all of this is understanding that even when we cannot stop the tsunami that's coming, we can take steps ourselves individually to prepare our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our souls, our own emotional well-being can still be maintained despite the tsunami that's coming. And that's, I think, for me, looking at astrology, looking at the planets, understanding the cycles of time and how they move in our lives and how they bring in repeat experiences and how they bring in the evolution of archetypes in our global societies. Looking at that, studying that is beneficial for regulating our own self-being and our self-autonomy. So hopefully, I'm certainly not trying to make this sound, crazy and, fear-mongering or anything like that. I'm just trying to say, point out, this is what's going on, and how do we as individuals react within ourselves in a way that allows us to be stable and confident in our own individual safety while not letting that come at the expense of the safety and security of our neighbors, of our friends and our family and our community and our global world. How can we do that without, harming others? How do we seek safety ourselves and security without damaging and harming others? This is, before I go, I do want to say, what we're seeing in the world is this expression of authoritarianism. And we see that in the world. We see that in the US. What's happened is we're seeing the erosion of individual rights to move it further and further into the collective. And I know, I have a lot of conservative family and friends who, for example, look at the overturning of Roe v. Wade. And what that was the overturning of Roe v. Wade was supporting the states' rights. And the people that were thinking about this, the conservative people that were supporting it, I know many of them were thinking of this in terms of oh, the states are taking back power from the federal government. Like, this was a real, like, conversational component around this of like, the states are the ones that should control this, not the federal government. But this was an illusion, because what this actually happened was the federal law powered individual rights. And so what this did, the Supreme Court overruling this is this took away individual rights and pushed it to the states. And so we're seeing states' rights being revoked and pushed into the federal government. We're seeing the rights of the Congress being taken over by the executive. We're seeing the court being used by the executive to solidify its power. So everywhere we see the aggregation of power is moving away from the individuals, away from smaller bodies of organization, and aggregating it into tighter and tighter control of fewer and fewer people, fewer and fewer bodies, states, organizations, countries, getting smaller and smaller. This is the oligarchy experience. This is the plutarchy experience that we're seeing rise in the world right now. And it is Plutonic. It is the essence of Pluto rising in the world right now, the rise of hegemonic power. All right, with that, my friends, I think that I am going to call it quits if I can find my outro scene. And until next time, keep your eye on the sky and make a wish upon a star.